to make do, so now I make two and give one to you. Till your luck break through. Break bread like we did in grade school. I stay grateful for every plateful. Sit at my table, get some great food. When you make choices, they also make you. Share the wealth beyond yourself.
Welcome to Me, Myself, and Liberty. I'm Leslie Nesmith, and I have a very special co-host today. Noah is joining me. Say hi.
Hi.
Yeah. All right. So tomorrow is Thanksgiving. I'm really excited about that. If only for the pumpkin pie, because I will probably gorge myself on that tomorrow. And we're going to have a big turkey, right? It's pretty funny. All right. So please share this. Invite your friends. Start a watch party. Head on over to our YouTube channel and like and follow that. Click the bell, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Today I have Jenni White, the mayor of Luther, joining me. She's also my friend, so this will be a time for us to catch up. I'm looking forward to this. And Matt Moore is going to join us towards the end to talk about what is going on with cryptocurrency, because if you have a crypto wallet, you have seen some activity lately, so I want to hear about that. All right, I'll be right back with Jenni White.
Used to make do, so now I make two and give one to you. Till your luck break through. Break bread like we did in grade school. I stay grateful for every plateful. Sit at my table, get some great food. When you make choices, they also make you. Share the wealth beyond yourself and stay cool.
Hello, basket of deplorables, ladies, gentlemen, those who are undecided. Todd Tucker back at the bunker where I belong. And we want you to join us here at OTU Media. Become a patron, a Patreon member. If you want true conservative messaging and not the same old corporate filtered news of Oklahoma, this is the place to be. Become a supporter, a soldier, a sergeant, a co-producer, even a sponsor. True conservatism lives here at OTU Media. Go to patreon.com/OTU Media, patreon.com/OTU Media. This is where conservatism lives, and the fight is just beginning.
Introducing all new, safe, natural relief. A cannabinoid-rich, clarity and focus formula with 17 essential supplements. When it matters most, you've got a job to do. Anxiety isn't an option. Programmed to keep you moving. A product exclusively manufactured for Active Duty RX by Cantech Labs.
Used to make do, so now I make two and give one to you. Till your luck break through. Break bread like we did in grade school. I stay grateful for every plateful. Sit at my table, get some great food. When you make choices.
Welcome back to Me, Myself, and Liberty. And as you can see, my friend Jenni White is joining me today. This is what we have to do to be able to get together.
I guess that's fine with me. I'll come out and chat.
Yes. Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you. Actually, I was like, who should I have on? Oh, Jenni and I haven't hung out in a while, so this is a way to do it. Only it's on camera, so we might not be able to talk about, certain stuff. So, all right. So, first of all, what are you doing for Thanksgiving?
Well, we are going to have all the kids over, kind of like we normally would.
Mm-hmm.
So, but this is the first year in, I don't know, 100 that I have not actually cooked a turkey.
Oh.
I bought one that was smoked.
Okay.
I know. So the kids are like, really? I think they're getting a little frightened. I'm like, don't worry,
I
we'll be
like
okay.
smoked turkey.
I love smoked turkey.
Yeah.
I've just never done it before. So
Yeah.
it's new ground.
Yes, I always brine mine. It always turns out great. It just kind of falls off the bone. It's good stuff. So everyone's coming to our house. There's been some changes just because we had, every family has the ones that are going to not come because of COVID and, all that. So, yes. Mm-hmm. So, but we'll, have the kids there and it'll be fun. So,
well, and you have a large family, so
yes.
Lots of kids. That's good.
That's right. That's right. It'll be fun.
Can't be lonely.
No, it will definitely not be lonely. So, this mask mandate, this is something this is really bothering me. It's been bothering me for a while. Of course, I refuse to wear a mask. And I go to Crest. That seems to be the most non-mask friendly place to shop. And it seems like the number of people who are not wearing masks it's getting fewer.
Dwindling.
Yes, which is concerning.
Me as well.
But it's always nice when you do run into other people who aren't wearing a mask and they're like, oh, hi, and then you chat and, and things are normal. And for me and for my kids, I know we've had the most normal you could have in this time, just because we're just not complying with a mask mandate. So, but it's really bothersome. And I know you've done a lot of research on this, and you have a very strong opinion about it also.
Because I never have strong opinions about anything.
Oh no.
So no. But I mean, as an elected official, and in Luther, where I'm mayor, we don't have. A mayor is more like a ceremonial thing. Mm-hmm. So I was elected as a town board member, but then the board voted me to be mayor. Uh-huh. So it's kind of like who doesn't want to do the job the most, or here. So,
I'm HOA president. It's not similar. I was going to say it's not the same thing, but I'm going to tell you it is a microcosm of like your scenario.
It is. So anytime I talk about things that relate to the town, I'm talking about me not as a mayor, but just as an elected official. And we've been up against the same situation that a lot of towns are, because the health departments really are wanting towns to put mask mandates in place. And as I was trying to articulate what my personal opinion is about it, I put together, and people that know me are going to laugh because this is what I do, is put PowerPoints together. But I thought it was really important because I think the thing that's frustrating me is I don't think people understand what the laws are, and that's why it's harder for them to fight it. And I felt like if they understood kind of what that was, then maybe they would be more adept at fighting it. So that's kind of what I brought to you today.
No, you're absolutely correct. Because, here's the thing. I had said this previously. I'm not one of those people that want to go make a scene in places. I really don't care to. I'm just not going to wear a mask. Now, if there's a place that I know doesn't want people in there without a mask, I'm not going to go there because I don't care to be that person. If I'm not sure, I will call ahead of time and I'll say, do you have a mask requirement? Okay. So I have had the ones that say yes, they almost always say it this way. They say, yes, we do because the new law says.
Well, and that's a point.
Yeah.
Because for those of us who are free enterprise people, and we want businesses to be able to operate the way businesses can operate and want to operate in order to make money and be useful to the community. If they say no shirt, no shoes, no service, you don't go in there because that's their business.
Yeah.
You do what they ask you to do. But here's my point. When the government forces you to do something, now I don't have any respect for that, because a business forcing a private the government forcing a private business to do something is fascist.
Yeah.
That is the definition of fascism.
Yes.
We don't live in a fascist society. We live in a republican democracy.
Yeah.
You know, a constitutional republic. Is what I should have said. So that's not where we live. So at that point, then, I don't feel the need to say, you know, well, I can appreciate where you're coming from. If they're doing it because the government is telling them to do it, then I don't respect that.
Yeah.
And I know that people won't agree with that, but that's just my stand.
Yeah. And I'm much the same way. You know, the government shouldn't be telling private businesses what to do. If a private business chooses to do something on their own, or even if they say, okay, well, the government's telling me to do it, well, okay, I have the right to not shop there.
Correct.
And that's how that's what I'll do. And it's been difficult in some ways. I was telling my older son yesterday, the number of places I have not been in months. You know, just, you know, I have my few that I go to on a regular basis, you know, Crest, Hobby Lobby, and Home Depot. Those are my...
You know, it's interesting because when you think about that, we're very concerned about people being marginalized by policies.
Yeah.
Well, I want you to think about the number of people, and I don't wear a mask because I don't agree with the reason why.
Yeah.
But I also don't like it personally. I mean, it almost gives me a panic attack.
Yeah.
I just simply can't. My blood pressure goes up if I have to wear one to go to the doctor or something.
Yeah.
So I just simply don't do it because psychologically, physiologically, it's not good for me.
No.
So I just don't do it. But the thing that bothers me about it is now I'm marginalized. I wasn't allowed to go to a committee meeting that I was on because I wouldn't wear a mask. Well, if I went and got a mask, went to a doctor and had them say, you know, well, she gets panic attacks when she does it, you know, she can't wear a mask. But now, isn't that an invasion of my privacy for you to now say, you need to come up with some medical reason, and I want to know what that is so that you don't have to wear a mask. Now, wait a minute. I have a right to privacy, the 9th Amendment.
Yeah.
And nothing, everything that isn't covered in the First Amendment is covered by the 9th Amendment. And my right to privacy is one of those, and I have that.
Yeah.
And so I tried to address a lot of those things in my my PowerPoint presentation. But I think the one that people need to understand immediately before anything else is that when I was an elected official, just like any other elected official, period, I take an oath of office.
Yeah.
The very first thing in my oath of office essentially says, I swear to uphold the Constitution of the United States.
Bingo.
Okay, now, it later says that I have to uphold the Constitution of Oklahoma, but what's the first thing that I'm required to uphold? The Constitution of the United States.
Yes.
That means that all of those freedoms that we have and often take for granted are things that are my responsibility to make sure that I am allowing for my citizens.
Yeah.
That's my job. Government's job isn't to suppress citizens. It's to allow them as much freedom as they possibly can have.
Yeah.
That's my job. So, I mean, I don't know if you can see it on the screen, but that's actually the oath that I took. And then if I'm supposed to uphold the Constitution, and that's the very first thing, that's what we need to think about when we think about mask mandates.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, well, when we get back, I want to take a look at your PowerPoint that is so organized. It's funny because I do the same thing. I do. It's funny. So we're going to take a look at it. And the good thing for you, the audience, is it has a lot of information in it, so you can go back and take screenshots or refer back to it if you need to. But Jenni's put together a pretty extensive PowerPoint for us. So we'll be right back.
Used to make do, so now I make two and give one to you. Till your luck break through. Break bread like we did in grade school. I stay grateful for every plateful. Sit at my table, get some great food. When you make choices, they also make you. Share the wealth beyond yourself and stay cool. I stay grateful for every yeah, he needed dough, so he needed dough and made bread, but his customers didn't need it dough. They had other places to go where they didn't have to see sap bases while taking a stroll. He was baking some rolls, making a...
Hey everybody, Todd Tucker here. Are you tired of Big Mobile making deals with dirty DC politicians to amplify liberals and silence conservatives like you? Do you want the same quality of service that you get from your current provider without supporting leftist, anti-American subversives like Kendra Horn and Nancy Pelosi? Well, Patriot Mobile can help you, and they can make a great deal. Ask what Patriot Mobile can do for you, and ask what Patriot Mobile can do for your country. Call Patriot Mobile today at 877-367-7524. 877-367-7524. Be a patriot. Join Patriot Mobile.
Introducing all new, safe, natural relief. A cannabinoid-rich, clarity and focus formula with 17 essential supplements. When it matters most, you've got a job to do. Anxiety isn't an option. Programmed to keep you moving. A product exclusively manufactured for Active Duty RX by Cantech Labs.
Used to make do, so now I make two and give one to you. Till your luck break through. Break bread like we did in grade school. I stay grateful for every plateful. Sit at my table, get some great food. When you make choices, they also make you. Share the wealth beyond yourself.
Welcome back to Me, Myself, and Liberty, and I want to remind you to check us out on YouTube, and also I'm on Parler. You're on Parler?
I am too,
thought we were on Parler.
Mm-hmm. And you too.
Yes, yes. And go to patreon.com/OTUmedia. In this time of censorship and everything that we are dealing with, it's organizations like this that keep the real news in front of you. Sadly, the mainstream media has zero integrity any longer, including a lot of our local media. So you're not going to hear what's actually going on. You're not going to hear the truth about mask mandates, for instance, like you're going to today. So we definitely need your financial support in order to do that. Another way that you can find us, if it's still up here, my QR code, you can scan my QR code. That is also our workaround for censorship, because if they take us down one place, you can still scan that QR code and it's going to get you to where we are. So fantastic. If you're not using QR codes, you need to be. Okay, so back to this ridiculous mask mandate. Okay, so let's talk about, so which comes first? Is that our next? Okay, so talk about that.
So if I take an oath to the Constitution, it has to come first. I went out and I found a really great website that explains, because I don't think municipal elected officials understand this particular thing. And I went out and found some really good information about that. One of the quotes I loved, it says, "This constitutional requirement is binding upon every government official in the United States, from state governors and judges to members of city councils, police officers, firefighters, or board members of mosquito abatement districts."
Wow.
And library boards. So they're just making the point that it doesn't matter if you're an elected official and you take this oath, the Constitution comes first. And it also says local governments exist solely because of state constitutions and laws. So as a result, the purposes of the United States Constitution's actions by local governments, they have to comply with the Constitution in the same way as any actions, any other action. So the state government can, under the 10th Amendment, don't forget, the state government has its own way of doing things, but you still have to comply and comport with the Constitution.
Yes.
Now, the second thing, or the other thing that I wanted to talk about that was really important, was if that's the case and we have to comply with the Constitution, think about it. That means that we have to comply. As an elected official, I have to comply with the Bill of Rights first, right? Don't forget that anything that's not in the Bill of Rights is in the 9th Amendment, right? Which means that we just talked about that lack of privacy. The other thing that is important, I think, right now, too, is the 14th Amendment, which unequal treatment under the law. If
Yeah.
Walmart is open, but my business up the street isn't open because we
Yeah.
closed it, that's a huge problem. If the governor says, well, you can't operate your bar after 11 o'clock, that's denying me of my ability to have
Yes.
property.
It's tyranny. It's tyranny. And what's really bothersome, we have been using this analogy of the frog in the boiling pot of
Yes.
water.
Well, I'm done with
We're
that.
far beyond that.
The frog is dead.
We are, yes.
Yeah.
The frog is dead.
He's been cooked. We've ate his
Yes.
We've eaten his legs. It's time to move on.
I am just pleading with the people out there. I know, I went on this tangent. I was talking to my husband yesterday as we were driving. I said the people who are part of the problem are the ones that are just going along with it to be compliant. And I understand because of personality differences and because of where people work and because of that some people are in very difficult predicaments. If you are in a position to make the choice to put that mask on or not, unless you have some debilitating medical reason or something like that, if you don't believe that mask is doing you some good medically, don't wear it. Don't feed into this frenzy, because it's like anything else. The more people who are doing it, it creates we use the word narrative, but it is creating this
creates a precedent.
It does.
And that's, I think, the thing that we should be very concerned about right now at this point in time, because I understand the necessity to take care of people who, there is a vulnerable population associated with this disease.
Yeah.
But it's a very specific vulnerable population.
Yes.
People with underlying conditions and people over 65, particularly. The majority of our deaths, last time I looked at the state health department data, the majority of the deaths were people in nursing homes.
Oh, yeah. Well, in California, there's 2 people under the age of 18 in the entire state that have died from COVID.
Correct.
2.
Right.
What does that tell you?
What we need to do is put that in proper perspective.
Yeah.
If we need to protect vulnerable populations, but the rest of us need to move along as it is. Now, if we can talk about this is what they're using. Title 11, Cities and Towns, Chapter 1 of the Oklahoma Municipal Code, Section 22.120 is telling you this is the one that they're using to use these mandates. And if you'll read that while it's up on the screen, it's very interesting to look at that. The governing body may make regulations to prevent the introduction of contagious diseases into the municipality and may enforce quarantine laws. Let's think about that for just a second. May. That means they don't have to.
Yeah.
There's nothing that says that they don't.
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah.
They may. But what is a communicable disease? What is that? Can you flip to the next slide for me? Because this is the interesting flip over a couple, because I overdid it on the slide. So there we go. Okay, so back there it says, think about contagious viruses. A wart is a contagious virus. So stop and think about that.
Yeah, I don't want warts.
At what point do we attack public health? Human papillomavirus causes cervical cancer.
Yeah.
4,000 people have died. Over 4,000 people have
Yeah.
died in a year from cervical cancer. Influenza is a virus. It's killed between 60,000 and 80,000. It depends on how the CDC is collecting
Yeah, I
the
was going
data.
to say, not
That's
now.
a
It's
problem.
all coronavirus.
It's a problem. But so think about that. So at what point, if you're going to call it a contagious disease, and think about bacteria, that's like strep throat. There are 1,200 to 1,900 people who die of strep throat. At what point do you say, well, it's in the public interest to step in and close this? Or in the very beginning of this disease, nobody really knew what was going on, because if you expect China to tell you the truth, then, well, there's a bridge I can see.
Yeah, I was going to say.
So we're not. And so there was no way that we were going to know. But here's the problem. As things have gone along, we definitely now know. We know that there are treatments, that it's eminently treatable. But the problem is the treatment information is being censored.
Yes, it is.
Censored by YouTube. It's being censored by Facebook. So how does anybody know that it's eminently treatable?
Yeah.
It's eminently treatable on the front end. It's eminently treatable if you get it.
Yeah.
the rate of survivability for this particular disease is well over 99%.
Yes.
I don't remember if it's 0.2 or 0.7. I don't remember which one it is, but it's well over 99%. And again, as we said in the last segment, it's the vulnerable populations are highly identifiable.
Yes.
So if you look at this particular, if you look at that particular state municipal code that they're using to justify these masks, it's way too broad. Some attorney needs to argue that. Some person needs to argue that.
Yeah.
If you feel you need to wear a mask, wear a mask.
Yeah.
If you're around somebody who's in a vulnerable population, if you are visiting at a nursing home, you should absolutely wear a mask.
Yeah.
Other than that, there should be no reason that you're forced to wear a mask, and certainly not to close your business.
Yeah, exactly. Because you know what? The things that we have to look at, we're going to have to look at is, one, the economic impact has been huge. But the suicides, the depression,
Absolutely.
the fallout from this, all of these other the consequences of this, I mean, is massive. We have changed the course of the United States indefinitely because of this.
Well, let's hope not. Let's hope that by giving out this information, people will feel confident enough to be able to go to their municipalities and try to take their rights back.
Yes. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, I want to talk about that, what people can do.
Okay.
Used to make do, so now I make two and give one to you. Till your luck break through. Break bread like we did in grade school. I stay grateful for every plateful. Sit at my table, get some great food. When you make choices, they also make you. Share the wealth beyond yourself and stay cool.
Hey everybody, Todd Tucker here, and everyone who knows me knows I love to read a great book, and right now I'm reading this incredible novel by local author Richard Engel. All you have to do is go to LastAmericanPresident.com and say big right now in this book. The Last American President is a story about political intrigue, romance, betrayal set against the backdrop of the dissolution of the United States of America. It's great reading, and when you go to LastAmericanPresident.com, use the promo code OTU, you're going to save money. And not only that, but half the price comes back to OTU. So half the proceeds from this book come back so you can watch great programming like you see on the OTU Media Network every day. LastAmericanPresident.com. I highly recommend this book. Read it today.
Well, I can hardly wait to put forth all the evidence we have collected on Dominion, starting with the fact it was created to produce altered voting results in Venezuela for Hugo Chavez. And then shipped internationally to manipulate votes for purchase in other countries, including this one. It was funded by money from Venezuela and Cuba, and China has a role in it also. So if you want to talk about foreign election interference, we certainly have it now.
American people need to know what Russia is doing to interfere
What can you
in
tell
this
us
election.
as somebody who's privy to that intelligence?
We have staggering statistical evidence. We have staggering testimony from witnesses, including one who was personally in briefings when all of this was discussed and planned.
Right here, Sean, 234 pages of sworn affidavits. These are real people, real allegations, signed with notaries.
As soon as the state shut down on election night and stopped counting, those are the states where the most egregious problems occurred. We also need to look at, and we're beginning to collect evidence on the financial interests of some of the governors and secretaries of state who actually bought into the Dominion systems, surprisingly enough. I mean, we are talking about hundreds of thousands of votes. President Trump won this election in a landslide. It's going to be irrefutable. I know that even Democratic senators and congresspeople for years have reported problems with this system to the FBI and to the government, and nobody's done a blooming thing about it. We are on the precipice of, this is essentially a new American revolution. And anybody who wants this country to remain free needs to step up right now.
Jenni, at the outset of this broadcast, I said that this is the culmination of what has been over a 4-year effort to overthrow this president.
Oh, absolutely, and it's been organized and conducted with the help of Silicon Valley people, the big tech companies, the social media companies, and even the media companies. And I'm going to release the Kraken.
Used to make do, so now I make two and give one to you. Till your luck break through. Break bread like we did in grade school. I stay grateful for every plateful. Sit at my table, get some great food. When you make choices, they also make you. Share the wealth beyond yourself and stay cool.
Welcome back. All right, so we're getting all fired up about this topic. We're both very passionate about this mask issue. Okay, so let's talk about your next slide, and I want to talk about. There's so many other things that I want us to talk about what people can do and all of that. So let's go ahead.
Let's talk about kind of propaganda, because if you think about it, there's an actual psychological aspect to wearing a mask.
Yeah.
And if you think about what's going on now, like look at it like this: we've always been told. I mean, we were watching Gunsmoke a minute ago. Mm-hmm. Bad guys wear masks.
Yeah.
Right? Uh-huh. So that makes some people kind of nervous around people who wear masks. Mm-hmm. I've even noticed that myself. I am not comfortable talking with a person with a mask. Also, I'm hard of hearing, so I can't really hear what they're saying anyway. But I mean, that's a problem. Mm-hmm. So I was thinking about it the other day, and I thought, so now we have state kind of propaganda that basically says good guys wear a mask, bad guys don't. You're going to kill your grandma if you don't wear a mask. Mm-hmm. Well, now what a thing for the state to do, because now you're pitting people against one another, because people will go, you're not wearing a mask.
That's exactly.
How can you be doing that? You're going to kill your grandmother. Well, but wait a minute, and then you feel like the bad guy because you know more information than they do.
Yeah.
And I've made an informed choice. Yeah. But I still look like the bad guy. So let's think about another thing. Think about the exemptions on some of these. Well, let's take Oklahoma City's, for example. I just pulled exemptions from theirs. Okay, it's not necessary to wear a mask at a water park. Well, is it because water stops COVID?
It's COVID drowns, Jenny. Come on.
I'm sorry. I guess I didn't get that in my research. Isn't that funny that water drowns COVID? I didn't get that.
Drowns it, yeah.
So people who are hard of hearing, just like I talked. I could say I'm exempt because I'm hard of hearing. How much sense does that make? Because if you're wearing a mask, how am I going to hear what you're saying by reading your lips? I can't even see your lips. It's the dumbest thing. That's just inane. It's the definition of inane.
It is, yes.
Now, my favorite one. People in a restaurant, they have to wear one going to the table.
Yes.
But at the table, there's no COVID.
Yes, if you wear the mask, then you actually hide from the COVID while you're walking to the table.
I see. Okay.
And then it doesn't follow you to the
table. Now it makes so much more sense.
It's scientific.
But then the other thing that I love about this is they say a facial covering. That's the term they use, facial covering. Well, what is that?
A bridal veil.
Somebody could pull their beard up over their mouth. Yeah. Somebody could wear a lace covering. Somebody could wear an N95 respirator. It could be anything, right? So let me guess. So if it really mattered, wouldn't the state say you have to all wear an N95 respirator? But then if you were going to get equal treatment under the law, the state would then have to take your tax dollars and buy all the N95 respirators and hand them out. Do you follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The other thing that's a real problem is I think municipal officials, they're just people like you and me. It's not the easiest job.
Some of them are dumb people, though, honestly.
I mean, their jobs are all over the board. But what frustrates me is there are people that are actually out there who are informed like you and I, who take our health seriously.
Yeah.
We know more than they do on this. And they'll actually, these people will go to these meetings or dial in or whatever they have to do, and they'll explain all of the information that they have to their municipal officials, who will go, well, but the state says this. The state health department says this. Well, but what if the state health department is just forwarding propaganda? And that's another thing that frustrates me about this, because in the research that I've done, and I've done quite a bit of it, the CDC essentially is falling back on surveys of people that they did to find out what would cause them to wear masks. What they found out was they wouldn't wear a mask just if it was for them, but they wear a mask for their neighbor. So if this is and they say over and over again, it's a behavioral thing, and that's why we're trying to make people understand why they need to do it, because it's behavioral. Okay, wait a second. That's a problem. So you're telling me to do something that has no roots in science at all.
Yeah, at all.
But it's essentially based on propaganda. I mean, there's no way to say that. It's behavioral.
That is what it is,
surveys that tell people they need to do this.
It's about compliance. It is about making people comply, seeing who will comply. That's all it is about.
That's exactly what it is. And you know that it's simply about compliance if any of the things that we've just been talking about are happening, and they are.
Yeah.
I think the other thing too, we were talking about, there has been so much confusion. Think about this. Who came out? Don't wear a mask. CDC came out. Don't wear a mask.
Dr.
Then
Fauci
it was wear a mask.
said
then
don't
it
wear a
was.
mask.
Does everybody remember the 2 weeks for
to flatten the curve?
Flatten the curve for 2 weeks. What happened to that? This is just going on and on and on. When you look at Sweden basically got it. They got over it and they moved on. They didn't require masks. They didn't close any businesses. This is well known. A new Danish survey just came out, and it was very important because it's something called a randomized trial, which means that they had people doing all kinds of different things, and they compared all of the different things together, and they found conclusively from that particular study that the mask did nothing to prevent the spread of the disease. It was the largest mask study to date in the United States. Or in all of the world, and it showed that they didn't help. So I think if that's the case, and nobody is listening to this, it has to be about control. If you can go to your municipal official and say, look at this. This is what I found. This is what's going on, and they still say, "Oh, well, we're going to have a mask mandate anyway."
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. This sounds like a conspiracy theory. There is a reason for it. This is intentional. It's like, I think of Pavlov's dogs. It's like the bell rings and they salivate. In this case, they're wanting to associate, if you're not wearing a mask, you are a bad, non-compliant person. And that's what it's turning into. When you're out somewhere and somebody wags their finger at you or shakes their head as you walk by because you're not, it's not because they're a scientist. It's not because they are a doctor and they know something you don't. It's that they are buying into the propaganda. And that's what it is.
It's honestly dystopian. I mean, it's like you watch some of these movies that
or
have
read
things like this, or read
1984.
That's the big one right
Please,
there.
read the book. Wasn't that required reading at some point? I bet kids don't even read it anymore.
Yeah, well, let's not start about school. But
that's another segment or two.
That's more like 3 segments.
Yeah, that is.
But in all seriousness, I mean, I don't understand how people have gotten to the point, and like you said earlier, it frightens me, because once we continue to do something, especially if we don't know why we're doing it, and we're doing it even though it doesn't really make any sense, the likelihood of us pushing back gets smaller the longer this goes on.
That's right.
And I think that people need to be very aware of what the actual research says. There's another one that you didn't know about that I mentioned during the break. The Great Barrington Declaration is basically, in a nutshell, hundreds and hundreds of scientists all over the world signed this Great Barrington Declaration that essentially says what we've been talking about. Protect the vulnerable population. Everybody else go do your thing. This isn't going away. It's a seasonal flu. That's pretty much kind of going to be where it is. It needs to stop. But we don't hear about that.
No.
Why?
I know why.
Because
it's planned.
Slide. I don't know if you guys can see this, but it is important to understand that information, SARS-CoV-2 is the disease. That's the name of the disease. COVID are the symptoms. But if you'll notice, this was off of my private Facebook page where I posted something about masks, and this is what Facebook did to me. You'll notice that you'll remember about the doctors.
Yeah.
Right? And there's just an excellent screenshot of an excellent example of censorship. If they're trying to suppress this, you need to stop and really think what that means. Why?
Exactly. Think about that. There's so much other stuff and crap out there on Facebook, on social media that gets circulated. Why are only certain things being silenced and edited, and censored? That's very important. Okay, so did we need more segments. You're going to have to come back. So was there anything else you wanted the audience to know? I know there's lots of other things you want the audience.
There are lots of others, but I am going to try to finish the PowerPoint and put it up.
Okay, so what we'll try to do is when she does have the full PowerPoint, get a link to it, maybe drop it in the comments here as soon as we can. But you can find her. She's in Luther, so it's not like you can get lost in Luther. Just say, hey, where's Jenni White? I need to get her PowerPoint.
Oh yeah, that'll do it.
All right. Well, I'm so glad that you got to join me today.
And thank you for asking me, and happy Thanksgiving.
Yes, happy Thanksgiving to you. And I will not be wearing a mask at mine. Thank you. All right. Well, I will be right back.
Used to make deuce and now I make two and get one for you. Till your luck break through. Break bread like we did in grade school. I stay grateful for every plateful. Sit at my table, get some great food. When you make choices, they also make you. Share the wealth beyond yourself.
With being able to secure victory, again, thank you. Truly a tremendous feat accomplished, and like I told you throughout the whole campaign, I'm working for you guys. I'm working for Oklahoma County. I'm trying to make this a safer place. I'm trying to make this a better place to live. I'm trying to have better relationships with every culture involved. I want to be better stewards of the county resources. These are all things that I ran on, that I believe in, and that I'm going to give to you. And thank you for giving me the opportunity and believing in me, that we can go and do this together and make these a great 4 years for Oklahoma County Sheriff's Office.
Used to make deuce and now I make two and get one for you. Till your luck break through. Break bread like we did in grade school. I stay grateful for every plateful. Sit at my table, get some great food.
Welcome back to Me, Myself, and Liberty. And Matt Moore is joining me. He is our our cryptocurrency expert here in the great state of Oklahoma. He's all the way in Tulsa, though, right?
Yeah. Yep, that's fair.
Okay, and I want to show your book, Foundations for Liberty. I've actually read it. This is a bestseller on Amazon, so you guys need to check this out. A lot of you in the audience, I'll get messages from you about cryptocurrency, about various coins like Bitcoin, and I am not an expert. Like wherever the expert is, I am so far on the other end of that. I'm just Matt is the person to talk to about this, and his book is fantastic, and it actually talks about fiat currency and all the big picture, really, right?
Yep, that's correct. Yeah, because people
right.
got to know the problem before they know the solution.
Yeah, speaking of the problem, here on page 47, the nature of government is to grow. That and the end. That's
yes,
what I need
absolutely.
to know. All right. Well, thanks for joining me today. I thought it'd be interesting to have you on because there's been a lot of activity in the cryptocurrency world, hasn't there?
Absolutely, and it's only going to continue to get better. I mean, this is literally just the beginning. So I don't know what you've been watching or what kind of questions you're getting from people, but I'd be more than happy to answer any of them that might be coming in.
Yeah, well, of course, I still get the I don't understand cryptocurrency thing, and I know that that's a whole. We need to do it. We need to do another show on that. We actually a while back, for those of you that didn't see it, Matt did an entire show talking about this topic, and we need to plan that again for January if we can.
Sure.
But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no. So one thing that's developing right now that's super interesting that people need to be aware of is due to the cycles of Bitcoin, we go through these 4-year processes. And in these 4-year processes, we go through what they call a halvening, where the newly minted supply of Bitcoin gets cut in half. And so that really drives a supply and demand economics. And especially when you have a lot of adoption growing. And when I say adoption, I mean, I'm not talking about just retail adoption. This next bull market that we're entering into is going to be fueled primarily by institutions, publicly traded companies buying this and putting it on their balance sheet as a reserve asset. You've even got central banks that are buying it now and holding it as a store of value. So we truly are coming through this evolution phase of where Bitcoin is now becoming a digital store of value. And so the upside, I mean, we're still at the very beginning of this, of the adoption curve. People who are in it now, I would classify as still early adopters, and the analogy that I make all the time is it's 1994 and people just starting to hear about the internet and email. So that's kind of where we're at in the space. But the thing that I think people need to be aware of and they need to consider is we are through this next bull market in price discovery. We are going to have huge upside potential, huge upside runs, but we're also going to have 20%, 30% corrections along the way. But I am fully confident that by the end of 2021, we will be making probably towards the top of this, getting towards the end of this bull market cycle. So we've got a really solid year and a half going into this. That's going to be a great and exciting time. And we are truly having a supply shock on Bitcoin. The adoption is growing. Just to give you some headlines, some examples, PayPal not only made cryptocurrencies in Bitcoin available to all their 300 plus some odd million users, but they as a company are buying 70% of the newly minted Bitcoin, and so that's really having an effect on the price. I mean, you have other big corporations and financial institutions that are buying this. Michael Saylor, he's the CEO of MicroStrategies. It's a publicly traded company. He went full on bull and bought $500 million worth of Bitcoin to put on as a reserve asset for their company, because he was like, look, I've got $500 million of cash that I'm sitting on, and it's a melting ice cube. It's like Bitcoin's going to be the fastest horse in the race, and he's not the only guy that's been saying that. Plenty of other Wall Street legends have been saying that. Citibank came out with their own report saying by the end of 2021, Bitcoin could easily be at $300,000 a Bitcoin. You've got J.P. Morgan that is telling you what's that? I could go on. I mean, tell me when and where.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. That's crazy. I mean, it's just it's insanity. And I think that some of us, I always fall back onto like the stock market analogy, and it's not really like that, but it's kind of like that in a way. But trying to get people to understand exactly what it is a challenge. Something I want to ask you about, Matt, is one of the questions that I get is, I'm new to this, what should I buy and how much?
Sure.
Now, the thing that I always tell people on the how much aspect is you never, as with the stock market, I mean, you don't invest more than you can afford to lose just because that's a good rule of thumb. I mean, we just don't know what's going to happen. There's no guarantees. But if you can afford to risk $100 a month or $500 a month and invest that in cryptocurrency of some sort, then do that if that's what you think you can do. But what do you recommend if somebody says, okay, I can start out with a couple $100 or $500 a month, and I know this is not financial advice, so let's say if you were just now getting into it, what would you do with that few $100s a month?
So I would dollar cost average in. If you're getting, that's actually a great strategy. Dollar cost averaging in on a regular basis, whether it's weekly, monthly, biweekly, and doing money that's not going to jeopardize or put you at a stretch when you're trying to pay for bills. This is just excess money that you're going to be using for investing, or even saving, because saving dollars is actually not wise at all. And I could go into that and tell you why, but I'll leave that for another day. But I would tell people, if you can't sleep comfortably at night due to the volatility of price discovery within Bitcoin going up and down, even though in the course of its 11, 12 years of history, even though it is volatile, it makes higher lows and higher highs. So it is in a upwards trajectory. And once you understand the monetary system, which I highly recommend anybody do, when you start learning about this technology and you start learning about the monetary system, if you're going to be investing in anything, you need to do your own due diligence and start reading and learning about it, because the more equipped that you are, the more knowledgeable that you are, the better decisions that you're going to be able to make for you and your family and your family's future.
Yes, that is so true. And I want to remind everyone, I know this is just a short segment and there are tons of questions, and I try to direct people to you all of the time when they contact me with these questions, which is crazy because I'm not the person, there's lots of things I know a lot about. This is one that I'm just a novice. But I want to remind everyone about your book and where they can get it. Foundations for Liberty by Matthew J. Moore is on Amazon, and it is a bestseller in more than one category, so make sure that you check that out. Is there anything else you want to tell the audience, Matt? About the current market conditions for crypto? Sure. Or anything.
Well, how much time do we got? I guess that's a better question to ask.
I think we've got about 2 minutes, I think.
All right. Well, one thing that I would encourage anybody to do when it comes to your finances, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not going to give you financial advice, but I am going to tell you what I'm doing. And I know that the government, the only game plan that they have is more quantitative easing, more stimulus, more debt. Just to put this into perspective, the reason why so much money is going into cryptocurrency, and money will be going into gold and silver too. We will see significant price rises in that as well. But the reason why that's happening is because the value of the dollar is being transferred into assets like cryptocurrency, which have future application. Things like gold and silver, because it's a store and preservation of wealth. Just to put this in perspective, 1776 to 1996, the first 220 years of America, the entire debt was $5 trillion. In just 1 year, in 2020, we've added $5 trillion. This is a exponential hockey stick growth in government debt. And the Fed chairman has come out and said, hey, we're a long ways away from recovery, and we need to do a whole lot more, and it's not time to worry about the fiscal state of the U.S. government. This is going to be a life-changing moment for all of us. This is going to be a life-changing moment that'll define the next 100 years. We are going to go through crazy economic and monetary times that are going to define a generation. So learn, buy my book, ask me who to listen to, who to go to, what are some resources. I'd be happy to point you in the direction, because your time, your energy, and your wealth are very important, and your freedom, and money is a representation of that.
Oh, yes, that's so true. All right, and let's tell them where they can find you.
You can go to mattjmoore.com, or you can go to cryptomore.com, and that's more with 2 O's.
All right. Well, I appreciate you coming on today. We could definitely do an entire show on this, and I plan to soon. So we need to plan that, okay?
Absolutely. Would love to.
All right. Thank you for joining me today, Matt. And for the audience, I'll be right back. All right.
Make two and get one for you till your luck break through. Break bread like we did in grade school. I stay grateful for every plateful. Sit at my table, get some great food. When you make choices, they also make you. Share the wealth beyond yourself.
You know, Rudy Giuliani, well, he goes on cable TV and sometimes all hell breaks loose, but today he was very, very effective, backed up by his team members there. This is Rudy Giuliani today at RNC headquarters in Washington, D.C.
There's not a singular voter fraud in one state. This pattern repeats itself in a number of states. To any experienced investigator, prosecutor, would suggest that there was a plan from a centralized place to execute these various acts of voter fraud. We have overvotes in numerous precincts of 150%, 200%, and 300%. In fact, we have precincts in which 2 times the number of people who live there, including children, voted. That's absurd. Well, they were good. I don't know that they were that good because they made significant mistakes, like all crooks do, and we caught them.
You are a criminal for not reporting it.
Used to make do, so now I make 2 and give 1 to you. Till your luck break through. Break bread like we did in grade school. I stay grateful for every plateful. Sit at my table, get some great food. When you make choices, they also make you. Share the wealth beyond.
Welcome back. All right, I want to say thank you so much for joining me today. And hey, we have Thanksgiving tomorrow, so I know that a lot of you are probably you know, getting ready for the big day and baking pies and all that, but be sure to take time and be thankful for what we do have. I know these are trying times. This has been a very difficult year for a lot of people, myself included. But this is a great day to just reflect and think about why we should be thankful and try to look at the positive side of things right now. All right, I will see you next week.
Used to make do, so now I make 2 and give 1 to you. Till your luck break through. Break bread like we did in grade school. I stay grateful for every plateful. Sit at my table, get some great food.